When a relationship ends, dividing up the finances can be one of the most stressful and confusing parts of the process. Who owns what has been disclosed, and what's being hidden? And what happens when something just doesn't feel right? Today, we're talking about forensic accounting in the context of separation and divorce. What is it? Why does it matter? And when do you get help? That's all ahead on Money and a Good Life. Hello, my name is Stephanie Coombs and I'm here with my co-host Ryan Watson. G'day, Ryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really interested in this one.
Yeah, well, I know Julie and I know she's got a lot of good things to say, so I'm excited too.
Well, let's bring her in. Julie Garis. She is the founder of Simple Split Financials and a forensic accountant with more than 2 decades of experience. Julie helps people going through separation or divorce and helps them understand their financial picture, especially when things are a bit murky, hidden, or unclear. Julie, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Julie.
So appreciate it. I think that we really do need to start right at the beginning for this one, though. Can you tell us, in your words, what a forensic accountant is and how does that sort of fit into the family law world? It's all very complex.
It is. And if I start talking terminology you don't understand, pull me up and make me
we're
explain
good.
again.
Yeah.
We're all in. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I guess forensic accounting is really about using accounting skills to investigate, analyse and explain financial data, financial documents, financial issues, and in the context of the legal context. So generally it's about following money, being a bit of a financial detective, creating a financial picture of whatever the issue is that we're looking at, and putting it in a format that lawyers and judges and clients can understand. So really trying to simplify the complexity of things and to give them the result that they want.
So bringing the numbers to life and making them make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. So I started, just a bit background about
please.
me,
Yeah.
is I started my career in the Big Four accounting firms in forensic accounting, litigation support work for corporates, and fraud. So chasing the money, and I worked in Hong Kong for a while where there was quite a lot of interesting matters over there. But that was in my previous career. I've pivoted now and I have created my business, Simple Split Financials, which is solely niched in family law. And it's a little bit broader than just forensic work, but that's certainly a big part of what I do.
What an interesting and complex area. I bet you would have seen some amazing, interesting cases when you're working with the Big Four, right?
I did some big ones, big corporate ones in Sydney, and as I said, in Hong Kong as well. So that was really interesting work. Slightly different, but same skills. It's basically putting the accounting financial picture together to achieve what the result is that we're trying to prove.
How do you even get these skills? I mean, like, if I wanted to be a forensic accountant, who trains this?
Steph, no.
I could do it.
I think
I
she'd
could do
be.
it. Yeah, thank you. Julie's on my side.
Right person. I'm on your side. See, that's why.
But you know what?
There's a lot of honesty. Right
I'd be
person,
good for
right
this
role.
because I'm a snoop.
You are.
Yes.
I am an absolute snoop.
Right, that's perfect skill set.
Yeah. Because this is
You could be my PI on the next time I need one.
because I do actually think, listening to this, there are some interesting overlays, I think, between this and actual investigative journalism, right? Where you have to, like, you've got to, it sounds like there's gut instincts and you've got to be sort of chasing a story, and you must have a few interesting tips and tricks up your sleeve as well for that too.
I hope so.
So what does it actually involve, forensic accounting, when you're working in a divorce case, for example? And like, if there's any examples that you can think of that help sort of like illustrate that.
Yeah. So as I said, I've sort of niched and I solely do it in family law matters. It could be just an issue that a client wants to have a look at. They might have suspicions of hidden money or bank accounts, or it could be for the family lawyer who has concerns in the matter. So, for example, if you're suspicious that there's hidden bank accounts, you'd be starting with the bank accounts that we know about and start tracing money through and seeing if there's other accounts, transfers in and out. It really does depend on the actual matter. Everyone's circumstances are so different. The actual process that I work with family lawyers or clients, I get work from both clients coming to me before they've separated with suspicions, or they just haven't had that financial knowledge and literacy during their relationship. But I also have other parts of my business coming from family lawyers where they have clients that have those concerns. So I do work for both. And then the best way to do work is collaboratively with both of them together. So working closely with them.
If I could ask, Julie, why did you choose this niche?
Because of personal experience. Yeah, about 11 years ago now, I went through my own challenging separation. And I thought, I'm an accountant. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm a forensic accountant. And I would have done things very differently had I had a clear head. Okay. My clients are mainly women. And if I had to stereotype them, a woman 45 and over may or may not have been working, but generally a stay-at-home mum, or she just didn't have the responsibility for finances during that relationship. It's how relationships happen. Another common thing with my clients is that the partner is a finance person often, and he's just run the finances. And so it's just the way that those relationships have worked out. Sometimes there's, I know, coercive control, financial control is big at the moment in the media, and that's a real thing. But sometimes the women it just hasn't been a priority for them to be involved in the finance, and that's all good until, boom, the relationship's over, and then they're like, I have no idea what has happened. No idea what's happened to the money. I don't even know what assets we've got. And yeah, it's a scary, scary place.
And it's all too common, isn't it, Jill, in terms of understanding, and even for people who are in finance, understanding a balance sheet, multiple companies, trust structures and the like as well, it can all it's like it can be like it's another language. Yeah.
And I can understand if you've completely sort of delegated the finances off to a partner, and we have on this podcast talked about this time and time again. That is something we always hear. We really advise that you have a basic understanding of what's happening with your money in a relationship. That's important. But I understand how it can happen. We're all empathetic on how that can happen. But if you are suddenly going through a separation and you don't know where the bank accounts are and you don't know where the money's going, you don't actually know how much of that is going into living expenses, that would be a terrifying prospect. And if it's going to be a nasty divorce, and sometimes they are, sadly, I don't know if you could feel like you could trust your partner to give you a full understanding of the financial situation.
Absolutely. And the people that we see that come to us and go to the lawyers are the ones that are more high conflict. If they could agree it themselves, there's another pathways to do that without involving a lot of legal advice and forensic accountants. No one's going to need a forensic accountant unless they need one because they're suspicious or there's issues that are just unclear. So I guess coming back to one of the very first things that when you get a lawyer is disclosure. You could ask your partner, you might be separating, you might say to your partner, look, if you're talking still at that space, can you please show me all the bank accounts? I haven't been privy to a lot of this stuff. That's okay, but let's be clear on it now. He may or may not give you that information. And I think you've just got to be really careful about what you accept. But then if you get a lawyer, there's a process of disclosure, financial disclosure. So one of the things I work with my clients on is when they get that disclosure, really looking at it and going, okay, what's missing, what's not here? And that's where the forensic work starts to come in. They might have disclosed a certain number of bank accounts, some super, some shares, but is that the full picture? What does that picture look like to be able to put a balance sheet together? Because I don't know if you know the property settlement. Have you been divorced?
No, I haven't. Okay. I haven't even been married. I haven't even got step 1 down.
Well,
you're 3 ahead of me, mate.
So, I mean, basically the property settlement process, and I do workshops with my clients without giving them legal advice, but if they're planning to separate or they're in the very early stages and they haven't spoken to a lawyer, I will do a workshop just outlining the 4-step process that the court will take or that you would take to come to a settlement. And essentially, without going into too much detail, first thing is, what have you got to separate? What is your balance sheet? What are your assets, liabilities, superannuation? Second step, well, let's look at what happened during your relationship. What did you both come to the relationship with, called contributions? And these terms start to come out. Financial contributions, non-financial contributions. Then they look at, well, what do you need to move forward, like future needs and resources? So that's where you get all that information, take it to a lawyer and you get legal advice. And I help my clients pull all of that together and to be able to start speaking the same language that their lawyers speak and to go on an informed basis to the lawyer.
Because if someone does engage a family lawyer, Julie, and then they don't work with you, Who does all of this work for them?
The lawyer will do some of that work, and then if they
Not particularly trained in this area, I wouldn't have thought. Not letting you down a path. This is just a conversation, right? Just conversation.
Yeah,
I value the work you do. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Yeah. I see a need for it.
Yeah.
And the level of review that you do of clients' disclosure does depend. I mean, it depends on the particular circumstances, what the client wants you to do, what their fears, what their vulnerabilities are. I mean, if they've got concerns, sometimes I get referrals from lawyers where they say, my client wants to do this. Can you just come and have a look and work with them and do those analyses, do that investigation type work? And sometimes there's real issues in some of these cases. People do hide things.
Can you think of an example without, disclosing anything you're not comfortable with? Can you think of an example where you have been shocked by something that's been hidden, or the client has been shocked by something that's been hidden?
Many, many things. I mean, I'll give you an example of one client, very smart lady. All my clients are really smart women. That's not the point.
Yeah.
So, successful career woman in her own right. So she had been working, but her husband, he was a CFO, and he had been just doing all the finance. They had 5 or 6 investment properties, a family home, a lot of shares. They had SMS, a self-managed super fund. Sorry, I shouldn't use acronyms. Some family trusts, and it was complicated, and she had no idea. So she got some disclosure. The lawyer's like, this is a mess. Can you just come in and have a look? So she Dropboxed the documents to me, went through it, said, go back and ask for da-da-da. That process of disclosure took a long time because he kept drip feeding bits and pieces through. So then I was in the background working with the client, explaining the documents themselves, what the trusts were, doing the ASIC searches, doing the land search, the property searches, putting that real puzzle together, that financial landscape for the lawyer and the client. So the client was really interested after 30 years of marriage to understand what had happened, and I always say to my clients, I want them to be in a position when they have to make decisions to be informed and to have done as much as they can or want to do to sort of walk away. I don't think anyone's particularly happy when they walk away from these sort of things anyway, but not to walk away with regret.
Yeah, and that was the reason for my question, Steph. This is how specialised it is. And it's obviously no slight on a lawyer or a family lawyer. Such a specialised area when they've got everything else going on and dealing with conflict potentially from the other side, another lawyer. And
they've got lots of legal stuff to do.
Exactly right. In terms of getting into the detail around it. You can imagine that example being a CFO. It would have almost been complex for the sake of being complex.
And if you're a CFO, you're clever. You're clever with how, you'd know how to sort of move money around and hide money and make it overly
Shout out
complex.
to all those CFOs out there listening.
Yeah,
we're on your side as well.
But that's really like a David and Goliath fight. Someone who doesn't know about finance versus someone whose job is finance.
And they have all the knowledge in their head, and some, unfortunately, they often don't make it easy for their partner to give them that information. It's sometimes deliberately obstructive, sometimes avoidant.
We talked about drip feeding.
Drip feeding documents through. There's lots of tactics that people use. They don't want to disclose things. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean they've got hidden things, but it
does raise a red flag.
Was she surprised by any of the documents that were sort of brought out?
She actually found a lot of documents on her own. And we were able to piece together, I did a whole massive analysis of all the share trading things and the shares she didn't know about. And I was working with her also to put the balance sheet together and a timeline of history. So the properties they had bought, and we had to put that whole puzzle together for the lawyers as well, because they wanted to know who paid for what, when, who came in with what. That's how they work out their percentage split.
And again, not necessarily uncommon, Steph, because there's a lot of people out there listening who have an investment property. They might have a self-managed super fund and they've got trust structure. Suddenly gets pretty complex pretty quickly, doesn't it, Julie?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So, it just means that you've got someone on your side who can stand up to that level of complexity.
Yeah.
And it's all logic. No emotion. You're coming from,
making it easy, saying to the lawyers, here, this is my analysis, this is what I found, and then they can go and do the legal work. So the lawyers I work with really value what I do. They're quite happy to refer to me and say, can you just help the client out? And often the client, I've got empathy because I've been through it. I know how hard it is and how emotional that time is. Yeah. I'm happy to sit there and listen to them as well and give that sort of handheld support as well.
Is it When you're sort of going through the accounts and what sort of things are you looking for? What sort of red flags are you looking for?
Cash withdrawals.
Really?
Big ones, yeah. Like regular ones, patterns. Like you can quite quickly pick up how complicated it's going to be if you open some bank statements and there's just money going in between accounts everywhere, ATM withdrawals, all sorts of things.
I imagine, Steph, that's when Julie's antenna goes up. Like her metaphorical antenna goes up.
Yeah. And usually the client has some idea, but not always. They might have suspicions of gambling and things like that. But, yeah, cash withdrawals, just physically hidden assets where they don't know where these things have actually gone.
Yeah.
What other things? There's lots of ways. They can company valuations. We might come to touch on that a little bit later, but there's a way to manipulate values. So when you're putting a balance sheet together, what you've got to split is what's on that balance sheet. So some people don't want things put on there, so they undervalue companies, and there's certain nuances in things like that. So it's just looking at what's on the balance sheet. Is that complete? Are all the debts there as well?
Technology is moving so quickly, right? Is this a harder job today than it was maybe 10 years ago when you've got the rise of crypto? But you also have things like, digital banking is so precise now, and you've got so, like, how has the job changed?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to show my age. When I first started forensic accounting, we were sharing computers. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
So, now, technology's it's made it a lot easier. But touching on crypto first, I guess that's a really interesting one, because I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, a guy in the US, and he was a crypto forensic specialist. And when I first heard of crypto, I was talking about wallets and blockchain
too hard. Yeah, whatever.
And all that sort of stuff. I'm like, data mining or whatever it is.
We're still wrapping our head around it.
We're
not going to let you hang out there.
So that's what he does for a living. He looks at that stuff and tries to trace things, and it's really difficult. You've got to have the wallets. You've got to actually get the physical devices that these wallets sit on, like iPhones or laptops, which not always that easy. It can be done. He has some really good results for some of his divorce clients, but it is a way absolutely to hide it. But generally, you would know. It's a follow the money type thing, because you'd be able to see that something's gone to a particular, what are they called, platforms?
Yeah.
And you'd be questioning things that are going out like that, but you can't. It's not that easy then to get from there.
It's gone out, so where is it? It's somewhere, and then it's follow the trail.
But there's people that specialise in doing that, obviously. So that's something that made it easier to sort of move things around, and then the further away it gets, the harder it is to trace. Coming to the technology thing again, I've been using some software where you can upload all the bank statements, probably similar to what you might do if you're a mortgage broker but there's some specific ones for family lawyers. I had a client suspected that her husband hadn't disclosed all his accounts, and so we ended up he did disclose all his bank statements. So we had 4 or 5 accounts, different banks. I was able to upload all the bank statements. They then converted to Excel. I'm actually quite good on a pivot table.
That is such a flex. That is such an accounting flex.
And a filter.
I'm just going to drop that one in. Pivot tables, they're my thing.
It's actually not. It's really basic.
No. We won't hear it.
There's some very sophisticated data analysts out there. But, so, basically I got 5 years' worth of bank statements for all his accounts, and they were converted within an hour or so into Excel. Yeah. I was able to filter, find, sort things, and found bank accounts that hadn't, just by looking at the last digits of transfers and things.
Right.
And then also you can use that sort of software easily to, calculate spreadsheets of ATM withdrawals. You can generate that so easily. So that's made it really easy. I mean, I used to go through bank statements with a highlighter.
Yeah.
So the technology.
Yeah, it's getting a bit easier in some ways. If people, though, are just taking chunks of cash out, that must then be quite difficult. If they're withdrawing large sums of cash, because then it's like, well, you can say, well, sorry, I had a secret raging gambling habit or whatever. Yep. And then how do you prove it one way or the other?
It's interesting. Yeah, that happens a lot. And they might say, oh, that was for living expenses, or they might admit that there was gambling in there.
Yeah.
That's what they call in family like wastage, and you've got to sort of prove it a little bit. Or get mixed reports. Sometimes it's the lawyer said the onus is on them to prove what they did with it. The money obviously went out. Well, what did they do with all that
so
money?
if it's gambling, then they would need to reconcile versus an app and or a bookie.
Yeah.
And so if you can prove it, then...
Yeah. So, but also, if they've got say it's a bank account, not a joint bank account, because then they'll probably say, well, she could have done it as well, or he, whoever the client is. But if it's their sole bank account, the money's all coming out, where's it gone? Put the questions back on them. So that's the sort of thing I can easily do and say to the lawyer, go back and ask these questions. Ask for this additional disclosure. Maybe we need to get subpoenas from Tab or whatever the thing is that you need to get subpoenas from. If that's if they're in court, for that matter. There's a lot of experts out there. So if I don't know something, I would never attempt to find crypto. I couldn't. Don't even know the terminology. So there's always people out, and I'm a big fan of creating the team around my clients. So introducing them to people in my network, and I know, Ryan, we've spoken about the importance of having financial advisors involved. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an accountant. I can't give advice. I'm not a lawyer. I don't give legal advice. I stick purely to what I do and then refer clients to the relevant people.
Yeah. Do you ever have to work with private investigators or?
I have.
Yeah.
So there was one client I had, she had suspicions that, he said he wasn't working. He was injured and couldn't work. But I referred her to a PI, and the PI went around following him for a while, found he was actually working and found a storage shed full of stock and bits and pieces. So, that sort of thing.
So bad.
It's hard though. You got to pay someone to follow them around by the hour. It's an expensive thing to do.
Yeah, but
if
it just shows you, right, how this is the awful thing as well about this business, is that this is someone that at one point someone loved enough to marry, and now it's sort of devolved to
prove
people
it.
like
it's just for a place to prove it.
Yeah,
that's sort of it. Prove it.
And then having them lie about working and not working so they can try and
know.
screw you in the divorce. Like that's very.
Come on,
That's
Steph.
rough, isn't
You're
it?
a journo. You don't see the world through rose-coloured glasses.
I kind of do.
No, don't give me that.
I mean, the thing is,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It never ceases to. I just can't understand sometimes.
People's behaviour are quite it's abhorrent outside of the normal, realms. But does this jade you a little bit when you're dealing with constant divorce cases where you're having to dig through other people's assets and find that they're hiding money?
No.
Really?
It's empowering because I can help the clients. They get benefit, they get knowledge, they get.
Well, that's the operative word, right? Help. Coming from a place of help, it's purpose-based.
It is.
Yeah.
No, it's empowering for me and the client.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we've just found some stuff, or I've just helped that client.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I guess, well, I mean, it's a lovely, I think that this is obviously a very important business, but I just feel like if you're constantly looking down into the face of people behaving in really shady ways, you'd be like, that's a bit, it's like, another jerk.
They're not my clients.
That's it. That's it. Well, that's it.
But
there we go. That's
no, there's some really terrible stories.
Well, putting that money lens on, such a value-add service that Julie provides, because something that's omitted or it's on or it's not on a balance sheet, it can add up to tens of hundreds or millions of dollars if it's omitted. So the value add,
absolutely
fantastic.
If you feel like something is off, if you've got a gut feeling right now, like you're either separating or you're considering separating, you think that there's something not adding up, like what are the steps that people should be taking who feel like they're in that situation now?
Yeah, so I do work with, as I said before, clients that they're planning and they might be planning.
I did want to ask, okay.
Yeah, sometimes they're waiting for the kids to finish their HSC, they're doing this, so but they know they're out.
Yeah.
They're just waiting and they want to do it in the right way. So we're like, let's get your ducks in a row. So I'll do a workshop with them, talk about what the lawyer's going to expect them to have. Here's a bit of the process. If I feel there's a need to introduce to a lawyer, the client wants to meet someone straight away, just get some initial advice, that's great.
Yeah.
Then I'll work with them to, give them that sort of, as a background knowledge, but get them starting to get documents together. Let's start getting that balance sheet together. And I've got templates and tools and I use some different platforms, whatever's easier for the client. And just get as much knowledge. Knowledge is power. It's speak to as many people as you need to just get started. Be prepared is my
If you
thing.
think it's going that way. I mean, sometimes you get blindsided by a divorce or a separation or something and then you can't do it.
That's hard. Yeah.
But I mean, is it possible? What do you think people should do to protect themselves before a divorce? Like, just as general sort of financial good hygiene on how you should be managing yourself and your money?
Again, it depends on the circumstances because everyone's got things set up differently, whether they've got joint bank accounts, separate bank accounts. It's always important to have a fund of money. And if you don't, if you've only got joint bank accounts, give some really serious thought to how you might start creating a bit of money to help you.
At least have a bank account in your own name.
Open a bank account in your own name.
Preferably a credit card in your own name.
If they can get a credit card, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because if the woman hasn't been working, if it's the female client. So, yeah, trying to make sure they've got some sort of, or access, start talking to family, friends if they can get something, because once you start this process, it's can be quite costly with lawyers and there is litigation funding, but that's another matter. And then, have a look at what they have jointly as well. One of the big ones that I see and I always talk to people about is redraw facilities, where one person can redraw on a home loan. Yes, so make sure there's two to sign, or if you absolutely need cash. There has been an instance where we consulted with a lawyer before he did it, but it was a male client. He didn't have any money at all. His wife had a lot of money, and there was a redraw facility, and he went and took the redraw. So he had a pot of money. But that, in those circumstances, he could always put it back. Yeah. And we knew his wife had a huge amount of money, so he needed that. So making sure that if anything can be, you don't want the asset pool to be depleted, like someone to come in. I mean, if you haven't yet separated and you announce that you're going to, and the other partner had access to that, they might go and take it. So looking at things like that can't deplete the asset pool. Yeah. And making sure you've got enough cash of your own as much as you can. Yeah. And then just getting the support in place.
Absolutely. And just ideally, before it gets to that point, just do make sure you've got a little bit of literacy over your own, like ask the questions, like how much are you making? Where is it going? Like
Start screenshotting any documents you find lying around.
Yep.
Just think about your passwords as well. Don't start emailing lawyers from from an email account that your husband has the password to. Things like that, just to protect your security, online security and things like that as well.
Very important. And we did touch on this a little bit, but I do want to come back to it, about the complexities of businesses and undervaluing businesses. So is there a way that people who, there might be a business in one of the partners' names but not the other, is there a way that you might be able to find out about that, or ways that you can sort of protect yourself from getting a business that's been sneakily undervalued?
Well, part of the process of putting this balance sheet and asset pool together is if you had a business, you might not necessarily need a formal valuation depending on the size of it. But, if someone's going to come in and value that business, the underlying documentation has to be a good basis for them to value it, because if that's not reliable. So, I don't do business valuations. That's another specialty that I would get other people to do. But I can certainly have a look at the documentation, start looking, is that going to be a good basis to give to a business valuer?
Because unfortunately, we've had a client who's just gone through this and the valuation was well under what it should be.
And particularly if, for example, the husband wants to keep the business,
That was
this
scenario, Julie?
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people, if they want to keep that particular asset, if it's a property or a business, they're going to want the lowest value on it because of the way that works. And so, looking at the quality of the information that's been sent to the valuer. It's not the valuer's job to make sure that it's completely accurate and things. I mean, they'll make adjustments where it's needed for market things, but...
So the key comes at the key inputs. The importance of the inputs.
The other big thing that I see, and I've seen valuations not taken into consideration, Division 7A, and I'm not going to start getting, Division 7A loans? It's a minefield, and a lot of people don't know how to deal with that. Yeah. And because that, Steph, do you know what a Division 7A loan is?
If my life depended on it, I would be in big trouble.
If you don't know, then you probably don't have one, so that's a good thing.
I would not.
It's a tick and move on.
Okay.
And I'm not going to define it properly either, but, when you've got loans between entities and family members and things, people taking money in and out of the company, they're not paying tax on it. And so there's tax consequences. And I probably didn't explain that properly, but...
No. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
My point is I see it and I'm like, that needs to be addressed. Let's get someone to look at that. And if you've got complex structures and you've got trusts and companies and there's these loans going everywhere, it gets really complex.
So say there was $100 in the business and you've taken it out and you've gone and spent it. In time, it'll have to be declared as profit in the company and you'll have to go and find that $25 to pay,
The
and
tax.
the $25 is generally not sitting in the company. So people go,
Being rich sounds complicated. You know, like if I was going through a divorce, it'd be so easy. It's like, you know, who gets the half-eaten wheat Bix? And it's like, you know, it's like, is this your peanut butter or my peanut butter? It's like that, and
More
then
money,
it's
more
like we're good.
problems.
Yeah, exactly.
More money, more
it's like,
problems.
oh, geez, that's. Yeah. Anyway, I mean,
so that's why you need someone like Julie in your corner. If
again,
you know, yeah.
you would have the easiest job with me. There's not a lot to find. Don't you worry about that. What are some of the biggest myths and misconceptions for people who that you hear when it's going through financial settlements? Are there any things that you want to just sort out and straighten out on the record now?
Absolutely. Yes. There's certainly, and you get friends and family and in your ear and going through this, they're like, oh, you know, I got 60% split of my assets or 50-50 is what you should get. It's not right. Every case is different. Every person's circumstances are different. Comes back to all sorts of different factors. I will work with my clients to identify all of those things, and we go to the lawyer and say, here's all this stuff about what they came in with and what is the legal advice on the percentage split. So just be very careful of not listening to other people's advice, because their situation is probably very different and you don't know those circumstances.
Go to the experts.
Go to the experts. That's the legal thing. I don't say anything about percentages.
Yeah.
And the other thing on percentages, which I hear a lot, is people get sort of hung up on if a lawyer gave them a percentage. You're going to get 60% of this asset pool. But the key thing is, and put it into perspective, is 60% of what? And so you go, well, if you're arguing over 50% or 60% of $10 million is a lot different to that of like an asset pool of $1 million. So you've got to be really careful that you're not going to argue and fight over something that you're going to pay more legal fees to actually get.
Well, and Steph, this goes to some of the work we do with clients who go through separation. Is we do projections around, you know, if their lawyer says this is worst case, say they're going into mediation, worst case, medium, and then best case. And if they can still live on the worst case, they can dial down a lot of emotion going into that. Doesn't mean that they won't fight for what they deserve, but it gives people a lot of peace of mind.
It does.
Yeah. As opposed to, because the emotional toll for every month or every year that goes on, right, Julie? as opposed to...
And financial, legal fees.
Yeah, and the animosity, the time in your life.
You've got to go, where do I draw a line in the sand?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to walk away? At what point is it?
Before we're just fighting over scraps.
I have nothing, and there's nothing left because you paid all in legal fees.
Thank you so much for your time. You've been really generous. I think that I've learnt a lot. I don't know how much of this will ever be applicable to me. Hopefully.
Let's hope none of it. Let's hope none of it.
Well, I'm here if you need.
There you go, yes.
Thank you so much. And if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to follow Money and a Good Life so you never miss a thing. We'll see you next time. Advice given in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to influence decisions about investing or financial products. Our listeners should always seek their own professional advice that considers their own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.